Hey guys, Jackie here doing an activity with you. All I am going to use in this activity are a few post-it notes and then 2 rolls of pennies. So let me get my computer. So I can kind of show you. Okay. Perfect. Alright, so each one of these post-it notes represents the categories on a P&L statement. And there are 2 different types of costs. The first one being fixed costs, which means it never changes, it always stays the same. The second type of cost is called a variable cost, which means it does change. And the first category we're going to go to is rent. But before I go over that, each one of these pennies represents 100% of the net revenue per month that comes into the restaurant. And what net revenue means, it means after we pay taxes. So the first category is rent. Can you guess what percent of our net revenue that we pay towards this fixed cost? And so the rent never changes. And if you guessed 20%, that would be correct. So we're going to place 20 pennies on here. And that represents how much rent we pay per month. Okay, next we're going to go to management labor. So the only way management labor would change is if a manager, a salaried manager, would get a raise, or if we add a salaried manager to the store. Can you guess the amount that we would pay into the management labor pool? If you guessed 4%, that would be right. So for every dollar that comes in, 4 pennies goes to that. Then we go to employee labor. This is probably, you'll probably understand this part a little bit more. So when you run a labor and sales report, throughout the day, you're trying to get it down. Obviously, it depends on how much volume you've done that day. Your labor on Monday is definitely going to be higher than on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Reason being is you're doing more volume. It also depends on how much people get paid. Your target goal by usually 4 o'clock, you want to be at 21%. And then at the end of the night, when you close, you want to be at 17%. So we're going to put down 17%. So we're going to do 17 pennies on here. Okay. Next, we move on to advertising and marketing. So this would include couponing. One of the tools that's super useful with this advertising and marketing would be utilizing your eClub and Text Club because those are free. So if you can use those, great. Definitely build your clubs. And chances are the people that are part of your eClub and Text Club are regular guests. So you're targeting someone who is going to come into Culver's and come back. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be part of your club. With coupons, when you do send them out, you don't know. Usually an average redemption rate is 3% on coupons. So right now in Phoenix, we just sent out 100,000 coupons. We're hoping to get a 3% return on that, which would be just 6,000 coupons. So that can kind of show you when you do couponing, you're not going to get everyone back into your store that gets a coupon. But with your eClub and Text Club, those rates are a lot higher, so that's why it's free, and you're likely going to get a higher redemption rate on those if you do send a coupon through your eClub or Text Club. So we're going to put on 2 pennies for that because that is, you pretty much just pay for couponing. The eClub and Text Club, I know you don't directly pay for those, but I'm sure that is included with your franchise agreement. So up front, that doesn't cost us anything. But moving on to food costs. So food costs fluctuate based on commodities and supply and demand and stuff like that. But the average Culver's spends about 33% off their net revenue. We get 2 truck orders a week. So if your target is 33%, I am going to show you a formula to kind of calculate what your food costs would be, because you get 2 truck orders. Okay, so if you did $45,000 a week and your target is 33% for food costs, you have an allowance of $14,850 to use total for both of your truck orders. So one might be, they're probably not going to be exactly, $7,400 each, but you want to balance it. Usually your one, if you have a truck order towards the beginning of the week, that's going to be your lower truck order, so maybe you only spend $5,500 on that. But then your one towards the end of the week, because you are in the weekend, the weekends are busier and stuff like that, that one, maybe would be like closer to $8,000. So that's the formula that you would use. It's very important, whoever does your truck order, to understand this and not over order, because if you over order, you might have waste because of produce and stuff like that. Or you might over order on something that doesn't move that frequently, like crushed cherries. If you over ordered on that, that's just money sitting on your shelves. So you want to really, who's ever doing your truck order really needs to understand that. So we're going to put 33 pennies on that. All right, next we're going to go on to paper. So this is paper costs. This is generally around 3%. And how you can keep this down is being on top of, if you're set, people are putting in 2 napkins per food item. Well, that can definitely have an impact on your paper costs. So you want to make sure we're following proper procedures and only putting in like 1 napkin per item. So if you order correctly, that would be 3 pennies for paper. Same with this. If you over order on food costs, that's obviously going to be more than 33. Okay. And then just to kind of get an idea for these, whoever does your truck order, you want to make sure you use the guide. There is a template on the extranet that you can use so that you're using your build tos and stuff like that. Because if you're not using your build to guides, your truck order manager definitely could be over ordering. Also, your food costs would be high if you don't enter waste, because that helps control that. You know where the food is going. If it's going in the waste, you know where it's going. If it's being sold to the customer, we're selling it. So you either are selling it, you're wasting it, and then what's left over, what's missing, is called the gap. And that's where you want to try to have a very, very, very small percentage of a gap. It should be under 1%. So by using the tools in Red Prairie and running reports and entering your waste, you can see how well the truck order person is ordering, and you can also see where your food is going, if it's being wasted, if it's being sold, maybe someone's stealing it, stuff like that. So your paper stuff is your napkins, your cups, your lids, stuff like that. Moving on to maintenance. So maintenance depends. There are a lot of things that can factor into this. Do you do PMs? PMs are preventative maintenance. So that's cleaning your machines, like cleaning your condensers. Stuff like that prevents the machines from breaking down in your equipment. Also, if your store is older, that plays a huge impact. And so for equipment maintenance, we are going to put on 1 penny. Landscape and snow removal. Obviously, this fluctuates because, based on how many snowfalls you get per year and stuff like that, and then we plant in the springtime. So we're going to do 1 penny. Obviously, that can fluctuate if you have more snowfalls, so maybe it'll be 3 pennies one year, like last year. But we're just going to put 1 on there for right now. Garbage pickup. It's usually twice per week. That doesn't fluctuate that much. Maybe in the busier months, you up it to 3 times a week. So we're just going to put on 1 for right now. Moving on to electric and gas. So this is very important to understand as a manager because of startup times. So gas, the only thing that is really gas are the fryer vats and the grill. So when someone, like the porter person, when they get there in the morning and they start up the vats, how many times have you seen the porter person turn on all the vats? Well, you want to turn on the first 2. Reason being is you create such a high demand for the gas that it raises the price very quickly. So you don't want to create a high demand for gas. So what you do is you turn the first 2 on. Once you have the first 2 vats on, you filter the first vat. And then after you filter the first vat, you turn on vat 4. And then once vat 2 is filtered, you turn on vat 5. And then you go to filtering vat 4. And then once vat 4 is done, you turn on vat 3. You see how I'm going in the order that the porter would filter the vats in? So you want to stagger those. And this also has to do electric. Oh my gosh. Parking lot lights, make sure those go off on time, right when you close. Not the parking lot lights, the neon sign and stuff like that, that goes off. But leaving the parking lot lights on at least an hour after close for security purposes when you guys exit the building. But this has to do making sure, the bathroom lights are off at night, stuff like that. That can always save on electric. So we are going to put 3 pennies on there for that. Moving on to water. So this has to do with your dishwasher, how many times you run that. It also, if you have irrigation at your restaurant, that plays a big impact on it. So for water and irrigation, we are going to put 2 pennies on that. It also depends on the city that your restaurant is in, because Mukwonago, it costs a lot for water. But in Antioch, water is very cheap. So it kind of goes both ways there. And then what you have is royalties. What royalties are individually owned Culver's franchisees need to pay a fee to use the Culver's name to corporate. So what that means is for every $1 that comes into the store, Craig Culver pretty much gets a cut of that because he's the co-founder. We're using his name on everything. So that is about 8 cents per $1. So we're going to put 8 pennies on there. Okay. So then what we have left over is your profit. Okay, and that is actually just 2 pennies. That's all I have left here. And so here's the thing. If you run higher labor, let's say you run 18% labor on a Thursday, it comes out of your profit. So you wouldn't have 2 pennies, it'd go into labor, and now you only have 1. Or if someone over-ordered on food, okay, you're taking out of your profit and it's going and just sitting there on the shelf. It's already used. Okay, so I hope you take away I hope you take away what we pay for things, and I hope it helps you become a better manager and more aware of startup costs, labor, ordering, stuff like that. It's very crucial to be on top of this stuff because we need to keep as much money as we can in the restaurant in order to give people raises and all that sort of stuff. So the more profit you make and the more you maintain and lower your maintenance costs and repairs and stuff like that, it can play a big impact in how you run a restaurant. So I hope you learned something, and see you next time.